Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Input Left. This is Will and Joe on our second
input.
What was that?
You just called it input.
Input Left.
I don't think you said left though. I only heard input.
Well, input, left input. However you want to conceive of us. Is that how you say it? Anyway, we're back. We're fighting Devin.
Oh my god, there's so many hippos on this route. This is so annoying.
We've had a very exciting route. We started with members of the Third Reich, arms in the air, and now lots of hippos, men in caves, and everything you can think of.
Man caves, yeah.
Right, man caves, literal man caves. But we're
dodge.
We got our first legendary onto our team, and that's Snorlax. No, Articuno.
No, it's Articuno. Jagmeet the Articuno.
Right, Jaegerman Jetson.
Smitty Werben Jaegerman Jensen. The third, is it?
Right, I believe. Well, I wanted to share with you, Will. I took my first, in some ways, my first road trip where I was the person driving.
Okay.
And I told you about Zippy, the Smart 4.2.
You told everybody about Zippy.
We spent a lot of time
and
on
I've
that.
told everybody about Zippy in my personal life. I'm like, yeah, my friend Joe, he got a he got a smart car.
Yeah, what do they think about that?
They mostly laugh. I think some of them are like, I think that there's some surprise, but also like if it's not that surprising at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's sort of how I felt. I was like, somehow I knew that was going to happen.
Deep down,
you know? Yeah, it felt inevitable.
Look, is that how your mom kind of reacted?
Yeah, my sister as well.
Right.
You doesn't know you as well, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I feel like, it'd just be a short moment of shock, and then they remember who we're talking about.
Exactly.
And I took my first, it was just a 2-hour and 15-minute out drive to a small town called Fairmont. And it's where
was that round trip, or was that there and back?
Each way was 2 hours and 15.
Yeah. That's about the longest road trip I've driven on myself as well. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Like where I've actually been the driver. That is.
It was fun. It was also really, how do I say? It was like not the smartest decision, only because it turned out to be. I planned it ahead of time, and I made the day set aside for it, and I told my friend I was coming, so I was locked in, right? But unfortunately, it was like really foggy, and it was the farther I went, the foggier it got, and so it's extremely foggy. I'm going down an unfamiliar expressway, and I'm in this tiny 2-person car, while everything else on the highway is a full-sized like truck. So there were elements of it that were definitely terrifying. I don't regret it, but definitely when I went, like if I passed a truck, which I had to do a lot because I wanted to keep distance from them, so I wanted to get past them, and there was a lot of like having to manually like steady the wheel because of the wind like of the truck.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just get blown around like that in that kind of car?
A little bit. Like I don't want to overstate it. Like I wasn't like you're riding a horse and you're having to like, keep them chained, but it's more like, when you drive if you're ever like, I don't know if the word is drive, pushing a grocery cart, and it's like a little wobbly, like it's got a wheel and it has a tendency to move to one side.
Yeah.
It's kind of
drift going on.
It's kind of like that, where you're having to adjust for some like drift that is happening as you're passing up the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that, and then I got to a once you get out to these, I'm so unfamiliar with driving in like small towns, and sometimes you'll get right off the expressway, you'll be on what is virtually a highway, but then there's a stop sign that you're not expecting, and there were some pretty scary moments, but no, I made it back alive. I feel like I'm immersed in the small town culture now.
That's great. I mean, that reminds me of a road trip I went on with my family when I was a bit younger, because we would often, usually once, sometimes twice a year, drive up from Chicago to Canada,
Right.
just across the border, generally through Michigan, which is like a 6-7 hour road trip, depending on how many stops you take. And generally those were fine if long and boring. But there was one time where there was like this really nasty blizzard, and like we pulled off the highway, and we were thinking like, are we gonna have to like sleep out this blizzard like in our car on some side street in the middle of Michigan? And it was like it was really bad. Visibility was terrible. It was starting to like cover the roads and the highway. In the end, we were able to get going. We made it back home safely, but it was like legitimately very intense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that kind of stuff can actually just do you in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, we had another thing where it was my dad driving, and I think it was when we went to look at some colleges on the East Coast.
Right.
And
I think you might have told me about this. It was like up like a mountainy area, right?
Right.
This is what you're gonna talk about?
Yeah, really mountainous, really thin, like curving like wild, man. Like I don't even know how these people in the East Coast by the mountains do this like stuff. It's wackadoodle donkey. It's really, as it is, I think it's high enough risk. But then it was like torrent of like rain. I believe it was just really intense rain where
oh my god, they all have a hippo. I'm sorry to interrupt, but literally like every trainer on this route is a hippo. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's good.
Far from raining here.
But it honestly could have gotten us killed. Like if it's not for my dad's just like such an experienced, careful driver as it is. But definitely a scary. I tried to sleep through it, and my mom was like, "You slept through? Do you know how like close we were to death?"
What is that? The coward's way out or the Chad's way out? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the high level
through
play.
Something like that. It's the high level.
Well, if you get into an accident, there's a lot of stories about people who are asleep, barely feeling the impact and like not getting injured.
Isn't it like your muscles are relaxed when you're unconscious or something? So like you don't necessarily take as much damage, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, your HP is less impacted. Well,
yeah, you have a defense up buff. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you're unconscious and you're ragdolling, like you're pretty much fine as long as your head's not like hitting concrete. But the problem I think is that a lot of the reason you get injured is just because you brace for impact, and that means
it tenses up like everything.
Right. And it's the same thing where like if you fall or you jump, you're supposed to roll, right, to distribute the shock. If you're not
sure.
tense, it's you're not. Yeah, I feel like you're a lot safer. And I think there was a teacher in our high school who said like he fell asleep at the wheel and drove off like a cliff, and like
what?
Oh yeah, it was like a math teacher I had in high school, and was it Mr. Butera, I think? But
really, of all people.
But he was just like, yeah, I drove off the cliff while I was asleep, and I woke up, and there I was. My car was destroyed, but I'm still sitting there, and I'm looking around. I feel fine, but I went down like 100 feet or whatever. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
I would still feel extremely lucky if I was him, asleep or not, to have survived that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I imagine it was his life-altering event.
Yeah, I should hope so.
It was probably one of those, oh my god, there is a god, like moments.
Or maybe there isn't, and I'm just extremely effing lucky.
Yeah. I just rolled a d20 and in my sleep.
That was a nat 20. Yeah.
I rolled a 20.
That's not even like a. That's not even a d20. That's like getting a 100 on a d100.
Yeah. I rolled a 100.
Divine intervention.
Exactly.
Which I guess is actually more likely to succeed than a d20 is, because d20, like getting a natural 20 is a 1 in 20, and divine intervention is like a 1 in 10 ish. So whatever.
Nerd. Yeah, I hear you though. But yeah, so that was my road trip. I probably won't be driving to Fairmont again anytime soon, but I might take a trip to Chicago at some point.
Yeah,
it's only a 6-hour drive.
Yeah, I took a train, as you'll recall, from Chicago to the Twin Cities, and it was kind of fun. I kind of liked it.
It is. Joe Biden likes trains. I hope he gets us some Amtrak money.
Trains are great. Trains are great infrastructure that like people in America have long neglected in favor of planes. And yeah, I think that it's time they stop being overlooked.
Dude, have you seen those Japanese bullet trains?
I have, and there's no reason that we shouldn't have that in our country spanning across the continent, right? Like those would be so useful.
Just imagine the number of people that commute between metropolitan areas that don't have to be flying relatively short distances. Yeah, it's...
Couldn't agree more. And so wasteful and damaging to the environment as well, compared to a train, typically.
Don't even.
Not that trains are amazing in that respect, but they're better.
Well, I mean, you could do an electric, like, bullet train and have a much lower environmental impact, I'm sure.
Well, you've just got to remember, and this is something I bring up a lot when people talk about electric cars and other electric things to try to improve,
boy, here you go, ruin it for us all. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make sure people are aware that something being electric alone does not improve the environment, because where you're getting that electricity from is still very important. Right. If you think about it, and this isn't really how it works, right? But think about it like this. Your current car, which has a combustion engine in it, right? Takes like refined oil into like a fuel sort of form. I don't know, what do you call it? It was like petroleum or whatever is technically the term for it. Gas, right?
Yeah.
You take that and you use it to propel your car forward. Now, if you have an electric car, all you're doing could potentially be just like putting a buffer between those two things. If your electric car gets its electricity, which it uses to power itself, from like a combustion, like sort of like plant somewhere else, then you haven't really changed anything. You're still emitting the same amount of gas essentially, and like greenhouse gases like into the environment.
Yeah,
as you were before. Or if it's from like a coal plant or something, right? Like now, if that energy is coming from solar, or wind, or waves,
what about
even nuclear, then maybe you're in a better spot. But
what about clean coal? You're forgetting clean coal as an option.
Shit, you're right. I did forget about clean coal. I'll try not to overlook that going forward.
But you're right. You're right. Electric doesn't mean all that much, and a lot of electricity comes from gases that are not that great for the environment. But,
right.
You know,
it requires a more, like, here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Electric cars are great once we've shifted our energy grid not to rely on fossil fuels. Because then, like, yeah, if we just had, like, combustion engine cars still, then it's like, okay, well, now we have this huge thing where most of our energy comes from, like, renewable, non-damaging resources. But unfortunately, our cars are still reliant on them. Well, our cars aren't reliant on them anymore. So we just need to now completely overhaul the rest of the system to accommodate that.
Right. Well, and electric cars have a bunch of other problems with them. Like, they say all the batteries are going to die in, like, the next 10 years, right? The existing batteries on old used electric cars. And then
I wonder if that's planned obsolescence, though. Like, I wonder if we have batteries that could last much, much longer than that, and we just aren't using them because it's better for bottom lines if we don't.
Huh. I haven't thought of that. I think... I don't know. Well, yeah. I was gonna say even on your phone the battery dies and like... But that's the ultimate...
That is planned obsolescence. Yeah, we all know that's planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to do research on this to like say definitively. I'm just raising that as a possibility that like it may be that our batteries are much better than that and we just aren't aware. This is our encounter, by the way.
Hey, I love Togekiss.
Yeah, Togekiss is a pretty good Pokemon too. Another sort of normal type like Snorlax, but another really good one.
You use the metronome.
Oh yeah, I hope that doesn't screw with us too much.
Yeah, metronome explosion.
Could definitely take
metronome roar of time.
Metronome ice beam or blizzard or something.
Yeah, it's just doing Kamala.
Yeah. Do I think crit Twister would kill. Well, I'm asleep anyways. Oh, I should have thrown a quick ball. Oops.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Well, you could still get the quick ball in, right? It's only turn 2.
No, it's like turn 3.
Okay.
It's like as bad as a Pokeball now, basically. It's a waste. Let's see, I could confuse it. I could cut it, probably. Not sure if crit cut would kill. A little hesitant to switch Jagmeet in just yet.
Yeah.
Gus would no doubt be fine, but...
He's level 18.
I'm just gonna confuse rate and start throwing Pokeballs, honestly. I don't know what this thing's catch rate is like exactly.
Yeah, I really wish we had that false swipe.
Yeah.
We should start investing in it. I always, when I was a kid, I had that first 150 Pokemon, like, guidebook. I don't know if you had that, the one that came with, like, the big map. Well, not map.
No, I
like, you would put it on your wall with all the... Anyway, it was a little, like, companion guide. Very... Oh, I think it was probably sold in, like, Scholastic book orders, which is why a lot of kids had it. But... Togepi always confused me because I didn't understand if they were like in the first like Pokemon game in the first 150 or if it was like Gen 2. Because is it number 151 or is it something way higher and just tacked on at the end?
It's way higher. 152 is Chikorita.
Okay.
There are a few Pokemon that break it up. Like usually the first number is like the grass starter of each generation. I think maybe the only exception to that, there may be more, but the one I can think of is Victini actually comes before Snivy in the Unova Pokedex numbers.
Well, is Mew is 151 though?
Mew is 151. Yeah.
Right, okay. Which is interesting because, you know, you think always first 150 and Mewtwo is in the first 150, right? But not Mew.
Yeah, Mewtwo is 150.
Yeah. And the song.
Mew wasn't like originally planned to be obtainable in the first game.
Right. That's kind of wild to me. That you get...
It was like a developer snuck it in almost as like a prank. And in fact, it wasn't obtainable in the first games except through glitches.
So I'm glad you caught it. I was not paying attention. I had it in mind. I remember that you mentioned that we...
Yeah, the QT type, right?
You know, we... Go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go on. I just thought I thought we were on the same...
I think we are on the same page. The misnamed Pokemon that was cutesy. Yeah.
We went with Katie Porter for Clefairy. And I was like, yeah, I think that's appropriate. But then I realized that the next cutesy Pokemon we caught needed to have this nickname if it was female. Lo and behold, this is 100% Kirsten Cinema. She is such like a millennial wine mom aesthetic to her. And she is a demon. She's a literal demon. She votes against the minimum wage like it's her job. And she's like girl bossing it up when she does so. Oh. Reprehensible. Not a fan.
There's a lot of joy in nicknaming a Pokemon after her. There's also a lot of hatred or anger.
You deserve this.
Yeah.
You brought this upon yourself.
This is for all the workers you left over.
Exactly. Oh man. I think there's a place to heal here.
Wait, is this a town or is this just like a little side show?
It's a little side show.
Okay.
Where is...
Wait. Oh, it's the resort, like... Oh, yeah, it's the resort, right? Villa or something?
Yep. Yeah.
Don't they have, like,
Seaside
something
resort
you purchase for $1 million here?
I think you're thinking of the post-game area. There's another, like, villa, and you can, like, buy a mansion there or something for, like, $1 million, yeah.
Now, can you actually, like, do that?
I think so.
Okay.
I never was able to, I think, in my first playthrough, but yeah, I think that's an actual thing.
Fascinating.
You don't have rock slime yet. Rock slime. We don't have rock slime yet.
You weren't gonna talk to that dude, the mobster in there?
Oh, I guess we can. There's some optional trainers in here, but
oh, okay.
We should skip them for the time being.
Yeah. We don't want to overlevel.
Yeah, unless we like actually end up needing to grind. I did. Clefairy! Yeah, there you go.
Okay, just some flavor.
Yeah. Guess he's visiting from Kanto.
Pokecups.
Right, so, Route 213, we have another encounter here.
Okay, wow, one after another.
Yeah, lots of them here.
So we're pretty much definitely at the point where the only way we'd really lose is if we got wiped out all at once.
Yeah, I mean you have to get swept to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't like. We have so many Pokemon accumulated, and we're. I know I'm not very familiar with the Nuzlocke scene. I know you watch a lot more than I do. Do people get into this situation where they're just using up and a lot of their guys are dying and they're having to restock, and like you kind of get into a vicious cycle that way? Or would that just be like if you're a noob or you're doing it for the first time?
That's pretty common. I would say, yeah, it's more common in either like first playthroughs or earlier playthroughs. If you're doing it more casually, you know, you're not grinding up everything. Right. You're sort of just taking it easier. That does tend to happen a lot. If you're playing it more seriously, that still happens if you're doing like a very hard challenge, right? This, I would say, is not a super hard challenge. It's not easy, definitely, but I think that's part of the reason why we haven't had a ton of deaths. It's like I'm taking it pretty seriously, and it's not like an insanely challenging thing. So
right,
we've only had like 3 so far. But maybe that'll change with these gym meetings. Who knows? Because they all have 6 Pokemon.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna
be healing.
Could definitely be our toughest challenge yet.
It definitely could be.
What are the odds in your projection that we make this all the way? Like at least get to the Elite Four?
I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Okay.
But I think my guess is we are more likely right now to lose than we are to win. And the reason I think that is because I foresee us so I have a defined point when the trainers' Pokemon levels hit 45, they're all forced to be fully evolved.
Right.
And that's like around the time where you're like getting to the 8th gym Elite Four area. And I think that at that point, when you're fighting like consecutive teams of 6 with like all fully evolved Pokemon, we're much more likely to like get wiped out, basically.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not super worried about like the more immediate stuff. Like I feel like we have a decent chance to get through it, provided we don't just get bombarded by legendaries. But I think there's a really solid chance that we'll just lose at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we only have like 2 really powerful Pokemon, right? Like, it's just Kamla and technically Articuno is a legendary. Yeah,
and Articuno is not super strong right now. Although, right. I'll go get it the Ice Beam TM, I'm sure, from the game corner before too long. Right,
which is a really good move.
Yeah.
And maybe you can learn. Does it learn like Aerial Ace?
I think that the best, so it could get Fly.
Yeah, for
sure. Ideally, you want like I think a special flying move on it, but I don't know if it gets like Air Cutter or Air Slash by level up. Best you could do might just be like Wing Attack or Fly, which are like fine. They're fine flying moves, but they're not like amazing.
So to me, our one of our weaknesses is just we're not stacked in the legendaries department or like the really high stat. You know.
Oh, this is a problem. This is a problem.
Are we catching this or are we? No.
No, this is a trainer, but we are wrapped, so we can't switch, and we're confused, and we're at like -1 defense, so hitting ourselves in confusion actually hurts. Okay, good. Like that, if we got really unlucky there with confusion,
yeah,
we might have been in a very rough spot.
Yeah, we could have lost Kamla.
Yeah.
Jeez, I never realized that like the arena trap effects are actually like the worst thing in the Nuzlocke.
Oh yeah, especially if you don't have like healing items allowed, they can be extremely deadly.
So I think this could be another good spot to end an episode.
Before we get our encounter?
Yeah, cliffhanger the encounter. All right,
if you say so.
You want to see this next encounter, you better subscribe so you can find out and ring the bell so you know what our next episode is.
Oh yeah.
Input left, input, as some call it. Tune in next time.
See you guys then.
Bye.